Hello, hello, my beautiful pearls. How is everyone doing today? It's an amazing day here. And I just came back from my walk, the usual walk that I do. It kind of opens up my imagination and my brain. So I like to do these walks before I do the live with you guys. Today's going to be a very special one because I'm going to be talking about something that made a huge difference for me, and I was really like um kind of affected in a positive way by learning about uh, all of the things that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So today we're going to be together for, as usual, between 50 and 60 minutes, and we're going to be talking about um, the brain and how the brain and the body are connected and how this connection actually creates, or we make it create, basically our life and our life experience. And I want you to stick to the end because at the end of this training, I'm going to be extending an invitation for you. So stay tuned and enjoy the whole session today. For me, it's something that I really, really enjoy talking about. And I really like teaching about this. Well, not exactly teaching, but sharing my learnings from my own experiences. And because this is a sharing of experience, I always like to tell you how things happened for me so that I came to all the conclusions that I came to, and I started sharing my conclusions and my experiences with you. So because of that, I'm going to tell you a story that will lead me, or that actually led me to start understanding how my brain and my body work together, how they are connected, and how this connection is very much related to, again, the main topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is being in the present and living in the present versus living somewhere else. I'm going to tell you about it later. But now, let me tell you this story. So, in the summer of 2018, specifically on a July night, I was in a relationship and I was seeing that person for almost a year, a little bit more than a year. And things were really good. I mean, we were having a great time together. It was a very passionate relationship. And at one point in time, we had to, he had to leave, and we were kind of trying to deal with a long distance relationship. And things started to change a little bit, but they were still okay. I mean, we were okay. We were good. We had talked about it, and we kind of got in a way in a place where we had some issues. We sorted them out, we lived through it, and things were back to normal. And they were not like main or drastic issues. It's just the distance playing its game on us, right? And in July of 2018, after a year plus together, something just out of the blue, I don't know what it was, happened. And I received the call from him, or he messaged me one night and he's like, tomorrow we're going to talk. The minute he said that, my brain straight away went into this analytical mode. And I kind of sensed what was going to happen the next day. And I was on point. My intuition was 100% on point. So the next day he calls and he's like, this is not working. And I lost the passion and I don't want to do this anymore. And he kind of broke up with me. I got to tell you, the night before, I felt it was going to happen. I kind of saw it coming, but still it was very sudden and very uh, to me at that time it was really very emotional. And today when I talk about it, it's just an experience that I've been through. But I have to tell you, at that time, for almost 5 days, I did not eat. And I used to smoke at that time. So I was smoking a lot, not eating, and I was drinking coffee like crazy. And for 5 days, all I was doing was in my brain, I was just thinking, what was happening? What did I do? What happened? What was happening? Like, what went wrong? Where did I do a mistake? And I was going backwards and backwards and starting everything. Like, I kind of relived our relationship for a whole year and everything that happened in that during that relationship. I was just simply reliving it in my brain. And when I was reliving it in my brain, at points in time, I was like, when I was remembering the good thoughts and the good memories, I was feeling excited and I was feeling happy. But then I would remember the bad memory, the bad things that happened, or the result that is happening now and today with me because he just broke up with me. And I would start, crying, and I would be very unhappy. And it's very interesting that I'm telling you this now. And you can see I have a smile on my face and I'm not really affected at all. And this is the beauty of what I'm going to be talking to you about today. Like, I'm telling you this story, and you might feel like, oh my God, she's telling us a story about her having her heart broken, being in a very bad emotional state, and yet it's like she's not even affected. Yes, this is the whole point. This is the whole point of the training today. That we learn to live in our present moment. That we learn that the only time that we have really is now. This is the only time that we have. Because the past has already happened. And there's not really much that we can do to control that because it's just happened. And the future, now here, you can do a lot of controlling because you can always prepare for the future. But the only time that you really want to live and you want to make sure that you are living in this time is your now. Now, I want to tell you what happened and how I came to become this person who, when I speak about those experiences, although at that time they had a huge impact on me emotionally, I was really drained. I was dreading every moment. I was thinking, like, every time I would, look at my phone, I would be like, is he gonna message me? Is this happening really? What the heck is happening? And I was living in that space because I was always going back and I was always having the same thoughts in my mind. Now, when you start playing those videos in your mind of specific situations, especially when those situations are situations that are not beautiful ones, or not happy moments, or not joyful moments, or not good experiences, basically playing the video as a starter, you're already going backwards in your mind. You're sitting in that past moment that does not exist anymore. It just happened already. And every time you have these thoughts in your mind, you are living in that space, you are living in that area, you era, I want to call it, or you're living in that time, which is the past time. And this is not really what you want to do. But what happens is our thoughts, they generate choices, right? So every time we have a thought, we have a choice. So we make a choice whenever we have a thought. And this choice, okay, from that choice, we create a behavior. And then once we create a behavior, this behavior creates an experience for us. And that experience makes us feel something. It creates an emotion. Okay. Now, when we go through issues and when we go through difficulties in life, our thoughts become very similar. We kind of start thinking the same way. So consequently, I just explained to you how the whole process works, right? Then obviously when you have the emotion, that same emotion is going to, again, go back to you creating similar thoughts. So if we start always by thinking the same thoughts, so if we have the same thoughts, it means we are making the same choices. If we're making the same choices, it means that we're inflicting, or we're putting ourselves in the same behaviors. And those same behaviors will create for us the same experiences. And the same experiences will bring us back to feel the same emotions. And those same emotions will come back to us again with similar thoughts. And the pattern will keep on like regenerating itself. So the same thoughts will create the same choices. The same choices will create the same behaviors. The same behaviors will make us go through the same experiences. And the same experiences will lead us to have the same emotions. And those same emotions will again create the same thoughts. And this is how, by the time we get to the age of 30 years old, almost 30, like mid-age, okay, we have already been conditioning our mind and our body to these very specific patterns. So now, every time we have a very specific thought, that thought will come with a list of everything that follows. So that thought will become with that behavior, will come with that behavior, and then that behavior will generate that thought will come with that choice, and that choice will generate that behavior will give us that experience, and that experience will give us that same emotion, and then so on and so forth. So now we are completely conditioned to be that person who is a kind of an embodiment of all these experiences. So 95% of what we do becomes this conditioning, these memorized thoughts, these memorized behaviors that are giving us the memorized habits that we go through, the memorized experiences that we go through. And those memorized experiences make our body have those memorized reactions, those memorized feelings, like kind of surface. So this is how our whole being becomes accustomed to, or becomes conditioned from, when we are going through this life experience. And the more we go through that pattern, the more it becomes part of our life and part of our subconscious mind. And that's the 95%, because that's the 95% of your mind, is that memorized part of who you are, memorized being. That's you. So if we are in that place and we keep on living that way, we have conditioned our body to become that body that is accustomed to all of this. And if we want things to be different, when we start believing, that this is affecting us, because the more we go through life and the more we go through our experiences, this part, that 95% that is on kind of autopilot, because it's regenerating itself, right? So if this pattern is a pattern that's not giving us joy, it's a pattern that's not giving us happiness, it's a pattern that's not giving us satisfaction, how do you think we're going to be living our life? It's going to cause us to become stressed. It's going to cause us to become overwhelmed, unhappy, sad. And the more we bring of those experiences, the deeper that feeling becomes, and the more intense it becomes. And that's what creates stress for us. And we are moving from not just being in an autopilot, we are now moving from being in an autopilot life, or autopilot moving life, to a dreadful autopilot moving life, to a sad or a depressed autopilot moving life. And this is exactly, by the way, what happened with me, because the more I was thinking about that situation, I was literally reliving the whole process. So instead of me moving forward from this and understanding, why did I create this? What is it that I wanted from all of this situation? At that time, I didn't know. I hadn't even started working on myself to understand that I can actually do that. I didn't know that I needed to just stop and breathe and ask myself, why did I create this? What did I want to learn from all of that experience? And then, is this what I want? We get stuck in life a lot because most of the time, we are thinking and we are repeating in our mind, using our words, using our thoughts. We are always repeating the things that we do not want in our lives. So instead of actually focusing on the things that we really desire, on the things that we really want to achieve, that we really want to get to, on that level that we really want to aspire for, we keep on thinking about the things that we don't want. And the more you think, the more you have those thoughts, remember, those thoughts are those same thoughts that will be generating, again, the same choices. So if I keep on saying, I don't want to be hurt, and every time I say I don't want to be hurt, my mind is hearing the word hurt, and everything that comes with that, every choice that I have ever done in my life that is related to hurt is going to pop up. And from that choice, my behavior is going to be the same as it has been before, because I'm simply reinstating the same thing. And I'm starting the process with the same thought, right? So if I want to change my whole experience in my life, I want to start by changing that pattern. I want to start by a change from the origin, a change from where everything starts. This is where it is starting. This is where I want to be when this whole process or this whole pattern begins. I want to be starting rather than from here, which is my usual pattern, like the thoughts that I'm used to, the thoughts that I have memorized. I want to start by something new. And usually that something new, because obviously I want to be better, will be on a different level. So when I start from here, I'm already breaking a pattern. And starting from here means I'm having a new thought. A new thought will simply generate a new choice. And that new choice means that I'm going to have a new behavior. And when I'm going to have a new behavior, I'm creating for myself a completely new experience. And from that completely new experience, I'm having a completely new emotion. And that's how I'm creating a whole new personality. I am changing who I am. Now, people are usually afraid of change. Why? It's not really people who are afraid of change. You see, when you are in that, I told you there's a communication between that brain of ours and our body. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says that eventually our body becomes our mind, because our body is the one that is leading all those memorized things, all those memorized behaviors, all those memorized thoughts are memorized literally in our body, in our cells, in our DNA, in everything that our body does. So the more we go through that process, the more our body is accustomed to this. Now, when we choose and make that very conscious decision to change, what we are doing basically is we are becoming aware. And this is how the whole process starts. Because when you want to change, if I was still unchanged, I would still be living in that past moment with that ex-boyfriend of mine and how things happened in our relationship, or how we broke up. So instead of me reliving that past, I made a very conscious decision that I want to become aware of why and what happened and what were those thoughts. So when I became more aware, that awareness created kind of a break for my body, because my body now is unfamiliar with what I'm doing. And this is where the change becomes a little bit tricky, or this is where sometimes people tend to go back to their normal self. Although it's not really their normal self, it's the self that they have been conditioned to be. It's the self that they know. It's the self that they are familiar with. It's not really who they are. It's just their familiar experience. If you decide that you want to change that pattern, the first thing that you want to do is you want to become conscious of that pattern. And because that pattern is happening unconsciously, so basically you are becoming conscious of all your unconscious behaviors or unconscious patterns. And the more you are unconscious, the more you are conscious about those unconscious patterns, the more you are aware of whether you're going to do them and you're going to fall back, or you're going to be like, okay, so now let's say this thought happened in your brain, okay, and it's creating a choice. If you are not aware, the whole pattern is going to start again and again and again, and you're going to be continuing your life as you are used to. But if a thought occurs in your mind and you are aware, you start noticing the choices that you make. And from those choices, you also start noticing how your behavior becomes. The more you are aware of these things, the more you are able to control this mind. Because remember, like Dr. Joe said, your mind, your body becomes the mind, because everything that is happening in subconsciously or on the autopilot is happening here. So when you cross from this being in control to this becoming in control, that pattern starts breaking. Now your body is feeling uncomfortable. Why? Because you are putting your body in a place where you're kind of telling your body that I'm creating a change for you. And your body is like, yeah, but I don't know this. I'm not familiar with this. How am I going to deal with this? And the more your body feels this way, the more your body is going to be feeling uncomfortable. And this is where we say that you are moving. When you want to create that change, when you want to start that change for yourself, it is an uncomfortable action. It is an action that's going to take a lot of repetition. It's an action that's going to take a lot of dedication from you, so that you can really bring yourself up from here, from where you have been living in that place where you are creating the same experiences for yourself, the same emotions. And most of the time, you're living in that past that is really unhappy, where you were unfulfilled, where you were miserable. Your body is living there, although right now, today, you're not having those experiences. You're not really going through that process. Like when I'll kind of the same example. So when this guy broke up with me and I was living in that, for those 5-6 days, I was living in that moment of, oh my God, this is what happened. I can't even fake it anymore. Can you believe that? This is how much I have changed. This is how much I controlled my body and my emotions accordingly, because the whole process finishes with your emotions. So instead of staying there and living there, and if I had been living there all the time, like even after 5 days or 6 days, or even like the second this conversation between me and him was over, at that time, if I knew then what I know now, I would have like crossed the whole process like straight away, because I would have gone through this experience. I would have gone through this condition, this new conditioning for my body, to understand that, no, this is how I want it to be. It's not your call. Because now when we live in the past, it's like we're telling our body that the environment that's not actually existing anymore. But when we are thinking of that past, it's literally like telling our body that we are having that same experience, and the body needs to react to that. So the body is living that emotion, is living that experience, although right now you're not going through it, but you're subjecting yourself to it by thought only. So the minute you have that thought, that whole process starts. Now, when you decide to make that change, this is when your body will start acting weird because it's not familiar with what's happening. So let me ask you something. If like every day in the morning, and this is a practice that I want you to try this practice because it's just amazing how much difference it makes when you sit and monitor instead of analyzing. Let me explain. So when you wake up in the morning, not just analyzing, instead of also being affected by everything that's surrounding you. When you wake up in the morning, there are two types of things that people do when they wake up in the morning, especially these days, nowadays. One of them, especially nowadays. So you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do these days is you open up your phone and you just start. Like there's no breather, there's nothing. You just open the phone and you start your day with that. And usually, what is there on that phone? Like if you're following social media, if you're doing, if you're opening your emails and you're going to work, you've already started your day before you even got out of bed with all the problems that generate from that place or from that space, whether you work or like, when you go on social media, many people, especially now, social media advertising is literally based, or marketing, or just, any online marketing is literally based on a lot of comparison. And the more you put yourself in that place, the lower your self-worth becomes. So you're already starting your day by putting yourself in here. Now, what I want for you, or what I would recommend that you do, is why don't you start your day from here? So instead of waking up in the morning and as soon as you open your eyes, you're either holding your phone, or sometimes you don't even have to hold your phone, by the way. So I told you there are two things. You either, check your phone and start your day from there, or you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you think of are your problems. How do you imagine your day is going to be if the first thing or the first thought that comes to your mind is a problematic thought? Of course, your day is going to be a problematic day, because you're starting your day with the same thought that you are used to. That's a problematic thought that you have memorized. So you're starting your day from there, and that thought is going to create that same choice. That same choice is going to create that same behavior. That same behavior is going to create that same experience, and then you end up, before even getting out of your bed, feeling that down emotion. You haven't even started your day yet. So instead of doing that, how about in the morning, you open up your mind to become aware? And when I say that, what I mean is you start your day by being an observer instead of being someone who is going through the experience. Observe your thoughts. What are your thoughts doing? What are your thoughts telling you? And if you want that elevated experience, if you want to become in that elevated state, you are choosing to become aware of what those thoughts that are basically unconscious, because they're coming from your memorized state, your bodily memorized state, okay? you're choosing to be aware of those thoughts. So you're choosing to be conscious of that unconscious thought and follow the pattern. See where that unconscious, what's the unconscious choice that comes out of the unconscious thought. The more you are conscious about those, the more you are able to control the end result, because now it's like literally you're telling your body, hey, I am taking control. I am the one who's going to be starting this, and I'm going to take control. And you are now getting out of that stressful situation by taking that control out of your body in your mind, because this is where it's all starting as a thought, except now it's memorized. So when we decide to become conscious, and this is the awareness that I'm talking about, when we are aware and when you become more aware, you are able to now make better choices. And from those better choices, you are creating better behaviors, or you are acting in a better way. And by acting in a better way, you are simply creating a better experience for yourself. And when you go through a good experience, your emotion is going to be an elevated emotion. It's not going to be down. You're going to be elevating your emotions. And that emotion will bring you back to an elevated thought. And you start that pattern again. And the more you repeat that pattern, the more you become conscious. And the more you become conscious, the more you repeat, that repetition eventually will become an autopilot. But now that autopilot is an autopilot that is serving you, that is good for you, that is working for your own good. So instead of me being here today, I am here. And that is why, because I managed to completely change how my body reacts to those thoughts. That is why today, when I talk about that experience that at that time was so emotional to me, and I was really sad, and it was really like kind of devastating. That is why today, when I talk about it, I'm not living it. My body is not experiencing any of those choices, any of those emotions, any of those behaviors, any of those patterns that I had then, because now I created a whole new body for any of those thoughts, for those new experiences, those new thoughts in my head. And this is why talking about those experiences is just like me sharing knowledge with you. It is a very simple process because I managed. So can you imagine how efficient this would be if you are in a place where now, after this, you might be looking at your life and thinking, hang on, let me see. And you start like in the morning watching yourself, or obviously not watching, but you are more aware and you're observing what is happening. And then you start to realize that, oh my God, that is so true. And we think all the time, we think that our our experience or our personality is being created by everything that is happening around us and by people that are harming us, or that people that are doing things for us, or our parents, or our environment. But the fact of the reality is that your personality is what creates your personal reality. The personality of the person, that who you are, your being, your personality, is what is creating your personal reality. It's not your parents, it's not your ex, it's not your wife, it's not your friends, it's not the environment. You are the one creating that. So if your present personality, okay, is, hear me out, if your present personality is living in the past, what is going to happen to your body? Your body is going to be living in those memorized emotions. So instead of having your personal reality or your present personality living in the past, how about you live in the now, in the moment? And this is where everything starts, because when you live in the now, in the moment, your body starts reacting, because your body doesn't know what's happening. It's like, it's not used to this. This is not familiar. What are you doing? And your body is very tricky and is very smart, because now it is, I mean, it is 95% of your whole being. Your subconscious mind, your memory is all in here, right? So if you, with that 5%, are trying to take control, those 95% are going to try and fight. But those 5% are way much stronger. I truly believe that, because those 5% are connected to who you really are. They're connected to your true essence. They're connected to your true soul. And your true essence and your true soul are your divinity. They are who you divinely are. And usually that is an elevated state. Your soul is on an elevated level. Your soul is, it's a place, it's where you want to be. It's the place where you actually want to go to, is finding that soul. We all have it. It's there. We just don't know how to connect to it because of those 95%. Now, when you give room to your 5% and let your 5% be and grow, and not fall in the trap of going back to listening to your body, then you are certainly and 100% elevating your life from being in the place where you have zero control because you are running on an autopilot, and the control that you have is literally very small. You don't even notice it. And you're living your life just because you're living your life, because this is how you are used to live your life. And you decide so consciously, by becoming aware, and this is why awareness is very important. And you decide and you take that action to start changing. If you don't start changing, if that change doesn't start with you, you will never be able to change anything. For a change to happen in your experience of this life, in your personal reality, you want to start by changing you, your personality. So today, if I go back to that period of time in 2018. And I observe who I used to be. My personality has completely changed. And that's why I have created a completely new personal reality for myself. And this personal reality now is not connected to anyone. It's all about me. And it starts with me. And I am the creator. And I am the one doing all the work. And I am the one being so aware of the things that I want, of the things that I desire, of the things that I do. And I am the one who is deciding that I am living the now. And my now is my choice. And my now is where I want to be. And I don't want to be in my past. And I don't want to live in my past. And this is why, when we talk about healing, and it's important to heal, it's important to understand why you have all those thoughts and all those behaviors. It's important to know why those behaviors existed. Why did you bring them? Because all those behaviors and all those thoughts, we have them for a reason. We create them for a reason. And we are the ones creating them. Again, it's not like your parents, they had their own life. They did not create your life. You created your life by observing and following this and following that. You made that choice. Even if you think in your brain that it wasn't your choice, it was. You're the one who decided to follow this pattern rather than this pattern, even at a young age. So, and this might sound like, Misun, really? Yes. When you start that whole process and you start getting out of the usual you and start becoming a new you, that learning path will show you everything that I'm telling you. You will start I was like you. I was like, no, of course, my mom subjected me to this, so I'm a victim. And from that, I'm acting like a victim, so my whole life is going to be a victimization play. If I'm always in fear, my whole life is going to be about fear. But I'm the one subjecting myself to this. It's not just coming to me out of nowhere. Even the choice of people in your life, because you choose people in your life, or you choose a pattern, or you choose a partner, or you choose an experience like a work experience, because you want to learn something. There's something that your soul requires to learn, so that you are more aware, so that you understand what your soul wants, so that you understand where your soul wants you to go. What are the desires that your soul wants? What are the virtues? These are the virtues. This is how you learn your virtues. So the more you go through life in a memorized pattern, in a memorized way, on an autopilot, this is the kind of life that you are choosing for yourself. This is the kind of life that is happening for you, because this is what you are choosing, not your partner or your ex or your friends or your family. You're making that choice. Now, think about, what do you want to do with this information? Are you going to make that choice for you to become more aware of your unconscious behavior and of your unconscious? It's a whole unconscious life. It's like there is this awareness versus this unconscious pattern, unconscious life that you are leading on autopilot. And you're asking, those 5% to observe and learn and make a change. This autopilot life will not change if those 5% are not going to do that work. If those 5% are not going to be observing, are not going to be making a very aware choice to move from the person that I'm used to be and become the person that I want to be, that I desire to be, that I aspire to be. And this is how, when you go from that space, which is that memorized pattern, that memorized life, that memorized, those memorized emotions, basically, and you're living in misery all the time, creating your stress, creating your, victimization, creating your misery, creating your overwhelm, your burnout, all those negative emotions that we go through. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did it. I was going through that. I went through a depression, for God's sake. So I've been there. And then when I became aware, and I became aware because I started noticing things and I started observing. I'm like, hang on there. Why am I living? Why am I even having those thoughts? And how is my body reacting to those? Like I used to think of that person. And the minute I would think about that person, my whole body would become like that. And then I would start crying and I would have a physical reaction to that thought that just crossed my mind. Because although it's not happening now, it happened already. And I'm just asking my body, by bringing this thought to my mind, I'm just simply telling my body, hey, let's relive this moment. And there's nothing around me that is causing me to live this moment except my thought that's asking me to relive it. So when I became aware and I started noticing that pattern, I started understanding how that process goes, I figured out, I'm going to change because I don't want to live in that misery. That's not my choice for me. This is not why I'm here. I'm here to be, we are all here hoping to be happy. We are all here aspiring for happiness, aspiring for that elevated emotion all the time. We're not coming to this life and to have this experience to be miserable all the time. But it takes that misery for us to realize that, hey, we don't want to be there. Okay, let's try to change that. And how do we do that? By that observation. And starting, when we observe, we are already starting to notice that unconscious behavior, or that those unconscious results from that one first thought. And the more we repeat that awareness, the easier it will become for us to forget that conditioning and live a new condition that we are creating for ourselves, that those 5% are now creating for the remaining 95% to become conditioned to again. But now it's conditioned to do something, to create, like to have a better pattern, a more positive pattern, a more elevated pattern, a pattern that you want to have for your life, a pattern that will make you thrive, a pattern that will make you succeed, a pattern that will make you achieve everything that you want for yourself, rather than living in the past. So this is how being in the present moment and living in the present moment and understanding how things are happening, because you understand how things are happening by living in the now, not by going back. Because when you go back, you are simply living that again. But by being present and being aware, that's where everything starts. And that awareness, that presence, is what will guide you to become a more elevated vibrate, like you have a higher energy, a higher vibration, that things like forgiveness, things like forgetting become so easy. And those people that initially used to trigger you or used to bring out those negative emotions in you, they don't trigger you anymore, because you're over it, because you understand what happened and now you just got over it. And you see those people in their life and you just want to like, that's amazing, oh my God, I've learned so much from that experience. Look where I am today, look where I put myself today. How powerful is that? By just starting, by just taking that decision that I want to change. And for me to change my life, I need to change my personality so that I have a completely new personal reality. And by doing that, I'm creating a completely new life for myself. I have already created a completely new life for myself. And as you can see, I was talking about this whole experience without having to relive it, without having to go through that emotion. My body was completely on a different level now, is on a different level. I mean, it was when I was telling you the story, it was like zero reaction, because I have become so aware of that pattern that I was able to break it, that I was able to completely change it. And this is where my invitation to you comes. If you are in that place where you are always putting yourself in a situation where you are living in your past, where you are always thinking of your problems 24/7, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year, you are reliving the same pattern over and over and over again. Overwhelm, stress, misery, sadness, being, unhappy, being, agitated all the time are normal results. And when you want to change that, the first thing that you want to start with, the first thing that you will start with, is becoming aware. And if you are ready to make that change for yourself, and you think, I really can help you because I did it for myself, and I had to go through a lot to get here, but I did it. And now I have the tools that I can share with you. So if you think that for a little bit, I am able to help you start that journey and become the new person that you want to be, that you want to, achieve for yourself, for who you are, that you want to find that soul of yours and get used to that soul of yours and be that elevated person, that elevated vibration, that elevated energy in your own life, let me know in the comments below. Say I. Say just I, It's very simple. Or better yet, say I am. And not I want to be. Just say I am, because this is who you are. You are that person who is in control. You are that person who wants to thrive. You are that person who is successful. You are that person who is actually thriving. So if this is where you are, And if this is where you want to elevate yourself, to start learning how to live in the present moment. And that present moment, by the way, when you start living in it, you start becoming the creator of everything that you want in your life, because you are aware and you know, and you can manifest anything that you can think of. So if that's you, and you think I can help you by giving you the tools that I have learned over the past few years, just type I am in the comments below, and I will make sure I will reach out to you over Messenger. We'll have a discussion. We'll get on a call. I'll get to see where you are in your life right now. What season of your life are you in? What are the things that you are going through? And together we will come up with something that will help you. If I find that this is the right thing for you, then I will be there by your side, holding your hand all the way to make you cross that path and become the person that you really, really aspire to be. Who is the person that you really are, but it's just hiding under so many layers. So we will just uncover those layers and remove them completely. If that's you, remember, type I am in the comments below, and I will reach out to you as soon as I see your message. And with that, I'm going to say ciao, ciao, and I will see you again next week. Ciao, ciao.